The following program is intended for a mature listening audience. Graphic and explicit language may be heard at times. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual hosts and their guests do not necessarily express those of this station or sponsors. Listeners are advised that neither this station nor its owners and agents shall be held liable for the content of this program. Rebroadcast, redistributed or reused without express written permission by host or producer is not allowed.
Strange to unsolved stories about events, people, and places. Imagine yourself the use of some sort of quantum high-tech history device, a newly discovered, unlocked ability to revisit the past, or just searching and seeking through the fog of memories, stories, books, search engines, and new media to find the answers, connections, or to make the challenge for others to pick up the mysteries that have not been completed and strive to get a connection or a conclusion to the enigmas, legends, and mysteries. Go to the station's schedule or end up being a self-made archive archaeologist by listening to the podcasts. The Cafe Enigma radio show will help you regulate your unknown, unsolved, or strange historical addictions, and tuning in weekly to our shows, and you will be okay until the next interesting week and compelling episode comes up.
All right, it's time for another all-new Cafe Enigma. Yes, it is November 15th. It is now 9:30 on the East Coast. For the rest of the country, you're on your own. Anyway, we have with us tonight my producer, or my co-host, Nancy Lynetta. Hi, Nance.
Producer, are you actually promoting me?
No, I started to say producer, and I said my co-host.
Okay, all right, fine. Promotion, demotion, I'll deal with it. I'm good, Dee. How are you?
I am always doing better when you're in the room.
Oh, see, now you're just going to be nice.
It's a promotion.
I feel protected.
He's promoting you.
I know.
It gives me something to look at, you know.
There.
You'll let that one go. Anyway, we have with us also tonight, we got Vicky. Hi, Vic.
Hey. Hello.
Hey, Nancy, have you noticed that the longer Vicky's on the show, the louder she gets?
No, I've noticed she's opened up. It's so cute too, because almost every week I get a message from her after the show. I went too far. I'm so sorry. Every week. Am I lying, Vicky, or am I telling the truth?
Oh yeah, no, that's it. Yep.
And every week I tell her, "Oh my God, you did awesome. You're doing awesome." You know, everybody.
Yeah, but
your backgrounds. You're good.
I love her voice down in Frag Rock. So. And then we have with us, I'll explain that in a little bit. We have with us tonight our producer, Mark. And before the show, Mark was explaining to me.
Oh, no. I'm not going into that topic on air. Keep going. Do your show. If you want to talk about naked ghosts, you talk to Nancy about that, all right?
No. Oh, good Lord.
Tonight on the news, Bigfoot caught having a rave. Anyway, I saw a guy with a T-shirt today that said "Happy Thanksgiving," and it showed Bigfoot walking with a turkey under his arm. Well, I thought it was cute.
I bet he likes a little bird every now and then.
Yeah.
How do you think little Bigfoot get born?
Not the turkeys.
Blackouts.
Yes.
Honestly,
blackout.
I have never.
Haven't you ever heard
how
about the
little big
birds and the
people get born.
bees?
No, I don't think about Bigfoot and the birds and the bees. Seriously, I don't. That has never actually crossed my mind until just now when you brought it up, Mark. Oh my
Well,
God.
if we really want to know more about it, we can ask Nancy Pelosi.
Mm.
Anyway, if you're not a regular on the show, sorry, I'm not going back and redoing that little joke. Guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. On for the last 2 hour short show, I was thinking, and I was trying to figure out what we were going to talk about tonight. Because, honest, we've beat UFOs and Project Bluebeam to death. We beat Bigfoot to death. We've discussed ghosts up the wazoo, cryptos, politics, government,
So
world.
when you said November 15th, were you trying to say that we were talking about time travel since it's November 8th?
Okay,
Say that again.
try that again.
It is the 8th today, isn't it? Today's the 15th. It is the 15th. Okay, I lost it. Time travel is for me. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Y-Files and time travel, go to YouTube, check out a channel called The Y, W-H-Y, The Y-Files, and they just did one on a guy who supposedly created a time machine and disappeared and came back and then disappeared again. And
You know, it's interesting because you hear stories like that. That's not the first time I've heard that in particular.
yeah,
There's a guy in France that supposedly did that. And I am a person who actually believes that in all likeliness, they already know how to time travel. Honestly, just go ahead.
did you ever stop to think that, we talk about glitches in the Matrix?
Yep.
Yeah.
Makes you
Yep.
think.
Oh no, I like even if you watch like the Philadelphia experiment, that's a great example where they, again, they always say that that's a conspiracy theory, that it's not something that had direct eyewitnesses, but it did. I mean, it's a very interesting story, but that's what they were experimenting with. And you have to imagine that was way back. That was like in the Philadelphia experiment supposedly took place in the late 40s. The Eldridge, that was the USS Eldridge, I believe. I mean, think about that. They actually, according to the story, the ship disappeared and then reappeared at a different location. And when it did, half of the crew, or part of the crew, was like literally melded into the decks of the ship, because it was like displaced, and when it came back together, it was not correctly formed.
Oh, okay.
And if
Like
you look at the
timeline?
yes, I mean, it's
Okay.
I always tell people there's some very, very good movies that were made out there. I mean, you have the Philadelphia experiment, again, based loosely on what is said to be truth. You have the Manhattan Project, which is based on the truth. I mean, there are so many really good movies that were made, and if you didn't see it, I guess you don't you spoof at things like this, or you scoff and say, oh, time travel not possible. But again, there was a lot of background. In fact, I think I told you guys, my dad worked for the government as a contractor.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I would always ask him about was that particular case, the Philadelphia experiment. And it was something he would not answer me directly on. And he's kind of left it open in my head too, where there's something more to this. Because if it was not true, he would have said immediately, it's crap. That's crap. Don't listen to that. But that's not what he did. He went silent. And know my dad really well. Know when he can't talk about something, or he has knowledge of something.
So he wasn't just evasive?
He was not. It wasn't even evasive. He just dead silence. So in other words, door shut, don't knock again.
Mhm.
This is why it tickles me when I run across people. Oh, the people have a right to know. Okay, you might have, but you really don't want to.
Well, I think there's a lot of people that are not. Okay, I always go back to that one movie. What was it? Was it A Few Good Men? You want the truth? You can't handle the truth.
Right.
But it's true. I mean, look at our society. Okay, we have a society right now where a decent sized percentage, like I think they're up to like 5 or 7% now, don't even know what sex they are. Literally, they're like choosing a new sex every other day. And I'm not saying that to get into that subject matter. I'm saying that as an example that this is how screwed up our society is. Now imagine if we came out with something like, oh, by the way, we've been time traveling for the past 50 years. Imagine how that would go over right now.
Well, that always brings me back to that line in the original Men in Black when Will Smith and I just had his name on the tip of my tongue.
Tommy
Lee Jones.
Yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones. They're sitting on that park bench, and Smith's looking around and goes, well, why don't you just tell people? And Jones looks at him and says, a person is intelligent. People are stupid.
Yep. Yes.
Because I mean, I there's things that I'm privy to. There's things that Nancy are privy to. There's things that Mark has been privy to in our lives. That if you let that out, I wouldn't say people would panic, but there are opportunists out there who would create the panic.
Yes.
That's
not just that. You have to take a look at the bigger picture too. We live on a planet still where 80% to 90% of the planet still participate in the organized religions. They believe in God. They have very strong beliefs, whether it be God, whether it be Allah, whether it be Buddha, it just doesn't matter what they believe, but their beliefs are strong. Their faith is strong. When you start talking about things like time travel, aliens, anything of that nature, that can be highly disruptive to belief systems because a lot of people cannot assimilate that the two can go together. They can't.
Right.
They can't assimilate that in their brains.
No, on that line, let me put this a little bit more simplistically. There are far too many people on this planet that think that we are the end-all, be-all in the universe.
Yes.
That we just, if we haven't done it, it can't be done.
Yep.
That's the bottom line to it. Here's a planet full of little mud monkeys who are still scratching their behinds and picking their nose when it comes to what we know about our planet.
Yep.
Much less our solar system. Look at the uproar that science is in right now because of the James Webb Telescope. You have scientists right now in absolute panics because every time it sends information back, it's killing somebody's theory.
Yep.
And I'm going to stop there and let's see if anybody wants to correct me. Am I wrong?
Nope. But a theory is just a theory. That's why it's called a theory.
Yeah,
and
but
that's what people don't understand. They think theoreticals are facts. They're not. They're theoreticals.
That's the problem. I'm with you on that, Nancy. We have actually got college professors teaching theory as fact.
Yes.
Correct. And, so.
Not just that, but how do we put this? The educated elite do not like having anything that rocks their boat at all. I mean, there have been some really, really, really solid theories that have come out over the past 20 years, especially with the foundational exploration of like quantum physics and areas such as that, sciences basically. And yet we have them saying, well, no, the science is set in stone. Trust the science. The science is set in stone. The very basis of science is never set in stone. That's the whole reason for it. Science is about exploring. It's about learning. It's about
to know.
I mean, literally, it is literally about building upon your knowledge to gain more knowledge. You are never set in stone in science, ever.
Prime example, the pyramids in Egypt. This is what kind of kicked me into this time tonight. Over the past 2 or 3 days, I've watched 3 different documentaries on the pyramids. 3 hour-long documentaries. All 3 of them had a completely different idea. We're not talking about outlandish. We're talking about basic, how they were built, who built them, when they were built.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
The basic theme through all 3 of them is these people don't know. They're guessing. Because now they have found other structures that are as, for the time of the period, are probably pretty close to being as technical as the pyramids. Problem is, they're about 5,000 to 10,000 years older.
Yep, and they're finding tools that go almost 500,000 to 1 million years into our history, which, according to what we've been taught, is not possible. It's just not possible according to their timelines. So obviously something's wrong with the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention...
But they don't... Go ahead.
No, not to mention that you've got that idiot over in Egypt who's the minister of antiquities.
Mm-hmm.
Shutting down research projects.
He's not the minister anymore. He's a different guy. There's a different guy in charge now. He retired like 4 or 5 years ago, if not longer.
Okay, well, I'm just going by what the last information I had. But he was shutting down projects right and left until he could go in and see what it was.
And it was under the guise of they were worried about intellectual theft as well as property theft, because that has happened. I mean, I will give it to the Egypt. I don't think any country has been more robbed of its antiquity and history than Egypt has.
Yeah.
Literally, because every country in the world pretty much has sent an exploration team there and come home with things that they shouldn't have. It's not their history. It's Egypt's history. So I kind of understood it, but he also... He became what I've lately been referring to as a Bibi, a Netanyahu, where they want to control everything, and that is not a nice seat to sit in when crap hits the ceiling, and that's what started happening in Egypt.
Yeah. But it's like we were talking about, though. They still can't get a consensus to the best that I know of on how the pyramids were built.
No. Nope. Nobody can answer that question.
And you've got people who are proclaiming to be the smartest people in the room trying to tell us that it happened like this, it happened like that.
But doesn't science dictate or, suggest that you need to go and replicate the experiment to see if it works?
They can't.
That's the problem.
Exactly.
They cannot do it. So whatever technology was used has been lost. And they obviously haven't come close to redefining that technology yet because they can't do it. Although I will say, here in Florida, we do have the Coral Castle, which is, to me, the closest modern replication of what occurred with the pyramids, where that guy built with, granite stones that weighed a ton. He built a monument. And nobody can explain how he did it overnight, like literally in the middle of the night. And these stones, it would take, they were saying back then, I think he built that in the 30s. They were saying that there was no equipment that could have done any kind of, they wouldn't have been able to lift these stones, especially not without being seen and heard.
Right.
So nobody can figure out how the Coral Castle was built.
Oh,
There's just literally no explanation.
I've seen documentaries where they tried to actually get 1,000 people and pull the stone by running the log back up in front of it and pulling it across the log. There is no way that they could have even built half of a pyramid in a group of humans' lifetime.
Well, then that's the other thing you have to consider. Each pyramid, the construction started during the time frame of that particular pharaoh or that noble's rule or lifetime. So, like Khufu, when Khufu's period, wow, when his pyramid was built, he was already a pharaoh. So they start the construction on the period, but the pyramid is done at the point of his death because obviously there is record of his burial ceremony. They don't keep those. They didn't have ice back then. They didn't keep bodies. They didn't bomb, but they didn't keep bodies on ice. So yeah, you wanted to get that, and not only that, their beliefs. That pyramid was absolutely essential for their trip into the afterlife. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was a quick process. They died, they were buried, and not only that, 90% of the time, the rulers that succeeded them did their very best to make sure they were not remembered. So Egyptian history is a very interesting thing.
But correct me if I'm wrong. They haven't found any tombs in the pyramids.
No. No, they found a tomb. They haven't found any bodies. If that's what they have, basically, they didn't find the pharaoh that was buried. So I actually have a kitty cat right now that's like, she keeps pawing my phone like, let me talk. I know about pyramids. I'm a cat, damn it. No. Yeah. They did find mummified pets. But yeah, I think the best, you had Tutankhamun, obviously King Tut. He was in his tomb and he had an undisturbed tomb. Very, very little. I think they said the grave robbers had been in it maybe very early on, but not enough to really do any damage. We recently there was a discovery recently within the last 5 years that they think may be Cleopatra, but they don't have a way of actually proving it. But that one I keep an eye on because I'm always waiting to see when they discover her. Because she's. Go ahead.
I think Josh Gates did an episode on that.
Well, I always found that very interesting. I always found her line very interesting. And I always say that. She wasn't Egyptian. She was freaking Greek. She was a Ptolemy. The Ptolemy line was Greek.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I was like, that's why when people talk about her, she was the greatest queen of Egypt. Yes, in many ways she was. I think Nefertiti was her superior. But she was not Egyptian. She wasn't Nubian. She was Greek. Literally.
No.
And so the Ptolemies had come to power because I'll have to look that up. So
it was a married lineage. It was yeah. And like I said, it's a very, Egypt has always had a very interesting history. They've never been shy about integrating. They never were, at least. And literally, it's kind of funny that all these problems are cropped up right now over in the Middle East or have been cropped up over there. Because I'm like, if you look backwards in history, the Middle East has constantly been at war with itself. Like, it is literally the Fertile Crescent is supposedly in where Iraq is now. That whole area, Iraq, Iran, Turkey, Syria, Oman, I mean, all of them. Saudi Arabia, they've been at war. Egypt, the Sinai, Israel, they have all been at each other's throats for about 4,000 or 5,000 years now. It's insane.
Isn't that the cradle of civilization, though? Allegedly, the Tigris and Euphrates.
Yes, and it's interesting because if you go backwards, people right now the big question is Palestine, Israel, and everybody argues, well, there was no Palestine. Palestine's non-existent. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, guys, actually, so was Israel, because it was the Canaanites. It was the land of Canaan, and the land of Canaan did not have Israelis and Palestinians. It was a group of Arabic people who had all different beliefs. They were not ushered to just one belief. And out of that, you had the Israeli tribe that began, and then you also had the Arabic tribes. They lived together in harmony for quite a while, actually. I was like, so, you can claim Palestine didn't exist, but the state that Palestine represented did. It did, and it has for as long as Israel has. So
here's the other funny part about it is you notice that all those Arab countries behind Palestine.
Oh yeah.
Is it just me, or do they just not use the Palestinians as cannon fodder?
Oh, I think it's cannon fodder. I think actually I have to take us out to break now that I'm looking down. We will continue with that though, because that is a good question. Guys, hang in there. I know we kind of got off subject. We started paranormal, then we jumped over here, but we will jump back, I promise, because it all interrelates, all of it. I promise you. Hang in there, get yourself something to drink, stretch yourself out. We are out for our first break of the evening. Come back in just a few seconds, and we will return with the all-new Cafe Enigma swinging right at you. Hang in there, guys. We'll be right back.
And we are on radio break. Jack is trying to come in. We might have heard Jack earlier. Trying to break in.
You know what? Skype has been up, down, up, down, up, down. I've watched it going up and down all day.
He couldn't get in. He had a problem getting in on the link.
Really?
Yeah, off the link. Because that's how he came in the last time.
What you laughing at, D? D is still laughing.
Skype has become a porno.
What?
Skype has become a porno.
Yes. Oh, that's disgusting, D. Up,
down, up.
In, out, in, out, in, out.
Oh, my God.
Yes?
We're on break.
Yes, I'm your God. What?
You wish.
Who?
Yeah.
Break? What?
Hey, why are you guys giving me a hard time? Nancy, I don't give you a hard time.
There's nobody else here to give you a hard time tonight, Mark.
Yeah,
therefore,
D was trying to give me a damn hard time
this mission.
earlier.
It's Mission Impossible. I have burned the contact slip already because I didn't want it exploding in my face.
Okay. Get it out your system before we come back on here. Damn.
Da-da-da. Da-da-da. Da-da-da.
Hey, do I have to do Muppets?
Dude, no. I am literally thinking of D being lowered through a ceiling on a, with his arms outstretched with the flashlight in his mouth.
In a pink tutu, right?
Mark at the production desk.
In a pink tutu, right? Because, D always has to wear the pink tutu for here.
Piece of trivia. The guy that headed the group on Mission Impossible.
Which
Ethan
one?
Hawke?
No, the old one.
Oh, M? No, that's not. Yes, no, that's James Bond. Damn it.
The old Mission Impossible show, the guy that headed up the group.
Oh my God.
James.
I don't think I'm that old.
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember. He was in Airplane, too, as well. He was one of the pilots in Airplane.
Did
the
you
original
know
Graves?
brother?
Leslie Nielsen?
No, it wasn't Leslie. It was the guy
James
that
Graves?
goes, son, have you ever been in a Turkish prison before? Like,
No, but in the original series, the guy that headed up the group was actually, I didn't know this until recently, was the brother of James Arness.
Really?
Peter Graves?
Peter Graves.
Peter
Yep.
Graves.
The guy with the gray hair, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Hi, I'm
Yeah.
Peter Graves. Let me tell you about some secret
Exactly.
shit.
Second name, right?
James Arness's
Used
brother.
to James Graves. Whatever.
Do you know how many? I should do a whole series of on some of the streams when we're not on, of just Peter Graves' B horror movies. He was in so many horror movies that were B-rated. That's crazy, man. From giant ants to scorpions to... well, it had to be something giant.
What's his last name?
Yeah, Peter Graves, man.
Yeah.
Well, dude, people don't even remember. Like, I do remember the original Mission Impossible
30 seconds.
vaguely, but one of the things I really remember was that Leonard Nimoy was in it.
Yeah. Oh, that was in the second series of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He took the place of what was his name? When Barbara Bain and the other guy was there. Anyways, here's the countdown: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're alive and on the radio side right now.
All right, it's time for our second segment here on All New Cafe Enigma. I'm your host, Big D, with my co-host, Nancy Planetta. And with us tonight is Vicky on our illustrious panel. Also our producer, Mark, down in Texas. We were talking about old movies. Breaker, it's the rubber possum. So, no, we were just got off talking about old programs and stuff. And, but I actually should take notes because I asked a question and I can't remember what it was now.
Okay, you want to know something really scary? I can't remember what it was either.
If you turn the searchlights on.
Before we went off air.
Hey, if you turn the searchlights on, that's what they'll be expecting. Don't do it.
God. Good Lord.
But what we were talking about, basically we got down to, folks, quit. Look, you can have your opinion. I can have my opinion. But don't be careful about getting locked into something. These idiots that are protesting for Hamas here in this country. Okay, first of all, it is not our war. Get out of it. Secondly, it's been going on a lot longer than most of you have even been born.
Pretty much all of them, and then some.
And remember, a lot of the people whipping up the ire about this have ulterior motives.
Yep.
Yes, money.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Look, I don't care about the history of who created who or how long this has been going on. What I'm looking at is every time I turn around, Hamas fires rockets or something indiscriminately into Israel. Then Israel retaliates, and then Hamas goes to the media. Oh, they're beating up on us.
Yeah.
Okay, if a bad guy comes at me with a 22 and I pull out a 44, am I using excessive force? Let's break it down to something you can understand. Back up, take a breath. This stuff's getting ridiculous, folks.
Well,
it
you know
feeds
who's making money off this?
Yep, it feeds the fire. I was going to say, it feeds the fire because they both have allotments out of our budget.
Raytheon's making a killing.
Oh, Raytheon's making buku.
Yes.
Yep.
And so this keeps them, they were losing money. And then all of a sudden this broke out, and guess what? They're making money again. That's the whole reason for the wars, is to make money.
Yep, the military contracting stocks went up through the roof. Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, they literally blasted right through the roof, and because they were starting to dwindle because they were losing support in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's and I hate it when people take it down to the religious values. Like, I have seen more fighting in between groups online over this stupid frickin' war, and it's like, right down to where somebody was arguing the other day about the separation of church and state in the United States and how it shouldn't exist. I was like, really? Oh, no, we shouldn't have certain Christians need to lead this country. It's a Christian country. Well, no, not really. You really, really need to go back and read. Mm-hmm. And they were like, well, the separation of church and state doesn't exist. Well, no, not literally. You're right. Thomas Jefferson actually quoted that term in a letter he wrote, but the actual meaning behind the separation does exist within the First Amendment if you go back and read it.
Mhm.
And the fact is what do I say to him? Why would you want one religion in control of your government? That has not worked out for anybody historically.
Right.
I said, that's why we're here, because of the Church of England and because of the Vatican melding in with the royal crowns around Europe. I said, people were being killed because they didn't believe as other Christians did. Forget Muslims and Jews. If you were a Protestant and you were in a Catholic country, you were toast.
Yes.
And if you were a Catholic in a Protestant country, you were toast.
Toast. Mhm. Yeah,
So,
I mean, the
yeah.
Jesuits were coming to get you.
So tell me how well that works out to have church and state integrated. Really?
But here's the thing. The First Amendment is based on the government shall sanction no one religion.
Correct. Exactly.
And
Which is a separation.
The government has not. Now, here's another problem. If you want true separation of church and state, rewrite the law.
A lot of those laws, Steve, were written in the 40s and 50s, and they had integrated. Like In God We Trust was put on our money in the 1950s.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about every law in this country, follow it back to its root, is based on the Ten Commandments.
Correct. But there were laws that preceded the Ten Commandments that were the same thing. I mean, the Ten Commandments wrote it down as a societal code, and I've never disagreed with that. I'm not, you know that. I'm not Christian. I don't follow Christian beliefs, but I 100% believe in a moral code. And I believe the Ten Commandments encompass that correctly and well. But those are societal laws.
Judeo-Christian.
But
Correct.
Judeo-Christian.
Correct.
That's what, but see, that's one of the arguments that they use. I'm like you, Nancy. I'm so tired of hearing this separation of church and state.
Yep.
There is no church state to separate.
Correct.
Just
if people want to speak of their religion in a public school, have at it. That's also covered under your First Amendment right. But if you try to conform the government to your religion and make that like what these people are saying is, we need to, it needs to be Christian based and that's it. Well, that leaves you wide open to prosecute other religions, which you cannot do.
But see, here's my problem is two things. Number one, a lot of people think that if you have any kind of religious belief, you shouldn't hold office.
Yes. And you know why that happened? That was a knee jerk. Why was that a knee jerk? Well, look what's in power right now. You have so many people that are off the cusp of society sitting in congressional seats and working in their offices and running their CPACs. I mean, how many of us ever thought we would see a transvestite as our Surgeon General? Seriously, the person who who guides our health codes
and
is a psychological nightmare.
And not even a good-looking one.
Well, but the problem is that I don't care how they try to pat it down. There's a mental illness there. Right. That is a mental illness. And that person is telling everybody else how to be healthy when they're not healthy.
Right.
And people accept it because, oh, well, that person was bullied and kept to the outside of society. So we now need to all, I guess you could say, pay recompense for the fact that person thinks they've suffered wrongly.
I'm sorry. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in it for a second. I think it's all a ruse.
It is. But they believe in it, Dee, and that's the problem.
I think it's nothing more than tattoos and piercings.
It's given over to a reprobate.
It's worse than that, Dee. You're not seeing it correctly if you think it's just tattoos and piercing. It's not, because what it's done is it's given cover to every pervert and pedophile known to mankind. So it's a lot more insidious than tattoos and piercings.
No,
It's
I'm saying
called being given to a reprobate mind. If your mind is reprobate, and that's like the fall of society, the final destination of that, your mind doesn't function
Yep.
at all.
See,
And that's what you're seeing. These people don't even know what sex they are. There's something
Yeah,
wrong with that.
I agree with you, Nancy. I was just saying on the surface, it's basically just another fad. But
It's a nightmare of a fad.
we started allowing men in the women's bathroom. I know I
No.
said, and I think you said, what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. It was kind of like when CERN was flipped on the first time. What could possibly go wrong? It's only a couple trillion volts of electricity into the center of our planet, the core. Yeah, no, nothing could go wrong.
Yeah.
It's
I mean-
a decay of society.
Well,
And
and it's
that's the last step, is the reprobate mind. They don't even know what sex they are. Their minds can't function.
They
I
had,
just
what was it? They had a guy put in a women's prison because he identified as a
Yes.
female.
and he got inmates pregnant. Yep,
Yep.
I saw that.
I'm sorry. How does a woman get another woman pregnant?
Yep. Well, and then actually, there's a case right now in Georgia where it was a Georgia sheriff. It was an investigator, a detective, and it was a male who decided that they wanted to be a female, and their insurance for the sheriff's office covered, like, basically the hormone treatments. It covered a lot of things, but it did not cover the reassignment surgery because it was too expensive. And they don't. It's like they don't cover the lap band for obese people. They didn't cover certain things because it was beyond the scope of what the coverage was, which we all have dealt with in our lives with insurance, and we kept within the restrictions. Well, apparently this person took offense and sued, and of course got a very liberal court who agreed with him and forced the insurance carrier to pay for his gender reassignment surgery. And I'm like, this is my problem. I mean, they're forcing jails to pay for it when inmates ask for it. The military now has to pay for it.
Yeah,
For their
that's really
people.
wrong. Mhm.
Now we have insurance carriers where certain things are covered under their and these people agree to it. Well, you know that, Dee. When we work and we have a policy through our company, you are agreeing to the terms of the policy, not the terms you're writing, the terms they wrote. And that was not amongst the terms, and it's very clear. But because, again, this is a sensitive subject and their mental health, well, no. See, you should be questioning their mental health for the fact that they think they're the wrong sex, not for the fact that, well, if we give them gender reassignment, it's just going to make it all better. You know what? Go talk about that, the Wheaties guy, because he'll tell you it doesn't make it better. It doesn't make it better at all. In fact, it creates a bigger nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Jenner?
Yeah,
Bruce
Bruce Jenner.
Mm-hmm.
Can I jump in here since we're talking about stupid laws and stuff?
Mhm.
Yes.
I'm gonna kind of shift gears here in a minute. We can come back. I read this about 4 times before it sunk in that this was an actual real article.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Court releases Italian man who butchered his girlfriend over breadcrumbs in bed, citing,
Like crackers?
wait a minute, citing his dietary concerns. This man, his girlfriend and him were on vacation. She said something about breadcrumbs all in the bed. He got mad and stabbed her to death. He received a 30-year sentence. All right? Now, wait for this. He petitioned the courts. First of all, he didn't go to jail for almost a year and a half because of COVID. Then he petitioned the courts because the prison couldn't meet his dietary needs and he gained a bunch of weight, and he was at 100 cigarette a day habit. So the courts allowed him out of prison to live with his parents because the prison could not provide his needs.
When have prisons ever special catered to people's needs?
I'm going to tell you what, I've known several people who went to prison a little overweight and came out pretty fit and trim.
I just don't, like I said, I don't know where we lost respect for the victims in this society. And that has happened in a huge way.
Mm-hmm.
It's not apparently somehow the criminals have become the victims and the victims have disappeared. I mean, it's just, I've never, I mean, all these, even out in California right now in New York City, where they do the catch and release, you know, you get arrested. There's no, there's no cash bail required. You are literally released on your own recognizance. And it doesn't matter how severe the crime is. And it's like, what happened to the victim's right to feel safe? You know, I can understand an ROR if you do not have a lot of evidence to link somebody to a crime and you're just making the arrest because, you know, hey, we have some, we don't want this guy to get away. Okay, ROR that person because there's not enough there to say, hey, this guy, we're pretty sure he's guilty. Pretty sure it was him. They witness ID'd him. No. But when you have situations where, you know, hey, we just rolled up on this guy, shot him in the face, and the guy next to him saw me very clearly, pointed me out to the cops, I got arrested, went downtown, was out, you know, after I was fingerprinted and put through the process system. Literally maybe 4 hours, and I was back out the door. How do we get there? You spend more time in jail right now for DUI than you do serious crime. No joke.
And I've been asking the question, when did we change the spelling of respect to FEAR?
Yep.
I mean, and people come at me and they say, oh, wait, we shouldn't have the death sentence because it's cruel. What do you mean cruel? Well, the family is going to lose a family member and all. And whoa. What about the guy or gal this clown killed? Why aren't you worried about the family member they lost?
Yeah, but let's think of when that started. Do you remember when that started, when people started really protesting the death penalty? Do you remember? Because I do.
Well,
it was in the late 1990s going into 2000. We started seeing people really start to say, I mean, like collective groups started to stand up and say, no, can't do it. It's cruel and unusual. It's inhumane. It's this. Remember, because they started playing with different ways to execute somebody that were more humane. What else was happening at the same time? Joe Biden and his stupid crime bill were pushed through, which privatized the prison systems. So how much money is a prison system making if they're executing criminals? Not a lot.
Yeah.
They're making a shit ton more when they're holding them. And by not executing them, guess what? They're now pretty much a lifetime tenant at the prison.
But even for a death sentence, a lot of criminals were sitting on death row for 20 to 30 years.
Yep.
Wait, that's not cruel and unusual to make them sit there and think about it for 20 or 30 years?
Mm-hmm.
And the other one I love is supermax prisons are unreasonably cruel. Okay, this guy just went out and committed a heinous crime, killed 2 cops and 5 civilians. But we're going to rehabilitate him.
Oh, I thought that was the purpose of the death penalty, because it was a deterrent. You take that away and these things aren't deterred anymore.
But this is the thing. We've allowed our legal system to become conflagrated allowed politics into the legal system. Justice was supposed to be blind.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't supposed to be gay. It wasn't supposed to have a race. It was supposed to be blind. And yet it's not. It sees apparently everything. If you were an abused child and you had a minority background, well, you're gonna have an easier time with our justice system.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
it's
set up for them. Yeah, I mean, even the jury system is, they pick people who aren't educated and, you know,
Yep.
not professionals. And
No skin in the game. Yep.
exactly.
Let's not forget to throw in the medical and psychiatric professions.
There you go. And that's, to me, the psychiatric. Let me tell you, if there's a comeuppance in this country between them and pharmaceutical, yep, I'll be standing in line to watch those executions.
Oh,
Because the American Psychiatric Community, the APA, they have literally destroyed everything. They write and rewrite rules according to whatever floats their boat, whatever flowery, pot they're smoking that day. And it's ridiculous because guidelines are run on what they write. And I've always said that, if a psychiatrist says that you have a mental illness because you own a gun, yep, well, that's now what's in granted. That's a mental illness. Selfies are a mental illness. This is a mental illness. That is a mental illness. Really? But gender change is not? You took that one off the list, but you put selfies on the list.
Well, what about minor attracted?
MAPS. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, for them to say that's, pedophiles, that's not a, mental illness. That's, just people.
Oh, yeah.
It's a choice. People attracted to minors, it's like, are you kidding?
It's because they couldn't use the name NAMBLA anymore, because NAMBLA obviously had done some pretty gross, perverted things that were very, very public, and it had a real bad association to it. So suddenly NAMBLA was renamed MAPS and then integrated themselves into the LGBTQ. Now you've got a lot of LGBT originals who have literally left it, won't entertain it in any way, shape, or form because they're supporting pedophiles. Mm-hmm. And that's not what they signed up for. They're like, no, we don't do the pedophilia thing.
And folks, here, yeah, I agree.
Gone to the dogs, I tell you, we're gone to the dogs.
Who let the dog out?
She can't help herself as soon as she knows I'm on the phone.
Was that a dog or was Vicky wanting a cookie?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was my little yippy dog. I told you guys, whenever she realizes that I'm doing something on my phone, she starts. Yeah. She knows I'll let her out back so she can run around like a maniac.
Yeah.
Here's the funny part about it. 10 years ago, a mere decade ago, this country would have been up in arms with what is taking place with our kids today, or what is being attempted to take place with our kids today. This country would have been up in arms. But unfortunately, people, too many of you out there, you don't realize it, but you're jumping on these bandwagons to be popular and to be fashionable. You're not even thinking about the harm that you're doing.
Well, they also think that, okay, I've heard, gay people get on the TV and say, now push for the, homosexuality is to set up for the pedophilia. And that's why it was shoved in our faces. I mean, for so many years, to prepare it for the pedophilia, to be minor attracted people.
That's the other thing, and the other side of this is that what people do not understand is usually what we see now as normal society, the gay, the pedophilia, the transvestitism, all of it. These were things that have been synonymous with the political and upper classes of our society for forever. It's been the the greatest unspoken secret of our society. I mean, shoot. What's his face? Why can't I think of his name right off the top of my head? The director of the FBI during the 1960s. Cross-dresser from hell. He was a tranny.
Yeah.
Hoover.
Okay? Yeah,
Yeah.
Edgar. That's right. J. Edgar Hoover was a complete total transvestite. But, you know, hey, we didn't talk about that. Liberace, as gay as they came. Oh my God, I'll never forget that. My mom crying when she found out Liberace was gay. I was like, how could you not know that man was gay? Really, Mom? How could you not know that man was gay? Because men aren't like that. Oh, yes, they are. That one certainly was. I mean, but like I said, I think this push came because I think a lot of things are going to come out about our politicians, both historically and currently. And they don't want to face criminal charges for their activities. They're protecting themselves.
Right, exactly.
They're pushing for a normalization, so it is not criminal. I mean, even I've said that. Even okay. So you may agree or disagree with me, but if you take a look at it on its face, even the Barack Obama, Michelle Obama controversy, is Michelle Obama a man or a woman? Because that is really up in the air, folks. Whether you like to think that or not, it really is. Is she a man or a woman? Because it does make a difference. And then you had the admission of the thing that came out a couple of weeks ago about Barack Obama talking about his dreams about sleeping with gay men. So is he gay?
Well, yeah.
So, okay, if he's married to a transvestite that's actually a male, yes, he is. That kind of goes unspoken. And am I trying to do conspiracy? No, I'm trying to show you. If that is the case, normalizing those things, like it's long been said Hillary Clinton is gay. That has been said for decades now by anybody who's ever worked closely with them. She is a lesbian. People have known that. You talk to the people in D.C., they will tell you, absolutely, yes, she is. But no, it gets whispered. Joan Rivers talking about Michelle Obama. Oh, she's a tranny. Oh, darling. She's a tranny. Dead a week later. Literally, of the strangest circumstances.
And look.
But again, they're pushing a normalization. Why? Because when our politicians and our elite get held accountable, they want to be able to say, well, it's normal. We had to hide it because you people were so horrible and judgmental, and you discriminated so badly. We couldn't be ourselves. We weren't actually committing crimes, diddling with children. No. Look, it's normal. So see it for what it is, folks.
And what planet is that normal?
Yep. Oh, I just looked at the time. Guys, I got to take us out to our final break of the evening. When we return, we'll probably continue with this subject. Who knows? Get something to drink. We'll be back in just a few minutes with the all-new Cafe Enigma.
Okay, we're on radio break.
But that is true. They're setting us up.
Yep, they are. That's exactly right.
Well, you guys remember the arguments years ago, and they used to make fun of them. What's next?
Well, you didn't mention Cary Grant and Errol Flynn either. So.
Yep. Oh, God. Cary Grant, Errol Flynn. Oh, my God. What was the other one he was a really big – he was the first one that died from AIDS out of Hollywood. He was a big time.
You say John Wayne, I quit.
No, it was not John Wayne.
Rock Hudson.
It was Rock Hudson. Yep. I mean, again, I don't think any of us really cares what their preferences are, as long as it's within the range of legalities. You know, you're not diddling kids. I don't care what you do in your bedroom. Don't put it in front of my face. I don't want to hear about anybody's porn ever.
Oh, did it bother anybody else that every show featured a gay couple?
Yes.
In the last 10 years, it's like, why are they saying this is normal? It's not. I mean, obviously that's the setup, you know.
Well, even shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which I was watching the other day on a fluke. My granddaughter wanted to watch it, so okay, whatever. Let's watch it. It's pretty harmless. Let's watch Buffy. And you got the teenage girl Willow who decides she's gay in the middle of the show. I'm like, wow, I don't remember that. That's like back in 1999.
Yep.
Yeah. No, they've been pushing it for a long time. And I remember that gay young man saying, no, the reason they're pushing this so hard and for so long is to bring on the pedophilia and making that normal. And like you said, the legislation,
Yep.
no, they're
But,
not doing the crime.
but
You
Elon's
did it.
chip, if he puts it in your head, you'll forget all about that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then you have the TED Talks, because you guys forget the technology industry started talking about maps back in 2008, 2009, where they would pretty much campaign for maps. They were saying how normal it was. People just, if the child enjoyed it, that's all that mattered. Literally, these are the kind of talks they were giving at the TED Talks, the technology talks. I mean, you can actually find those on YouTube. It's like you literally get this horrifying chill down your spine because you think, okay, so this is what our brain trusts have been talking about. Diddling kids.
Mm-hmm.
What?
And
This is what our colleges discuss in their psychology classes. What?
here's the thing to me. If kids are capable of deciding if they want to have sex with an adult, why aren't they allowed to vote? Why aren't they
allowed to drink?
Why aren't they allowed to sign contracts?
Yep.
Because they're not old enough to make those decisions.
Why aren't they responsible for their own health care?
Yeah.
Why are
Okay.
they sitting at home with mom and dad?
Mm-hmm. Because mom and dad are now responsible for their health care, I believe, up to the age of 26 if they live at home.
Yep.
Legally, you're responsible.
Did you know that, the old thing, when you turn 18, you're out of here because I'm not responsible for you anymore, is wrong in Georgia. In Georgia, you are responsible for that child until their 19th birthday.
Yep.
I didn't.
Yep. But again, and they can die for their country too. They can join the military at 18 and actually
30
at 17
seconds,
if a parent
folks.
signs off on it.
30 seconds, folks.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know how this is going to work. Broadcaster went down once while we were just before break. I got it back up. So I don't know how this is going to turn out. I'm going to have to probably Frankenstein it for the encore. Here's your countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you are live and on the radio side right now.
And we are back for our final segment of the all-new Cafe Enigma. I'm your host, Big D, with my host, Nancy Planetta, and our panelist, Vicky, with us tonight. We're kind of all over the board.
Yeah, how do we get from paranormal to maps?
I started out with Bigfoot Thanksgivings and stuff. That's something else, too. I was trying to think Bigfoots, UFOs, and it's like Bigfoot. I've seen a ton of footage of supposedly Bigfoots. But after all the investigations, after all the hour and a half, 2-hour documentaries that I've watched, nobody has come up with anything other than maybe a footprint.
Yeah, there's no DNA. There's
nothing.
Yeah. Yep.
And
I agree.
And yet we have Bigfoot experts. How does that work?
Well, I give Bigfoot experts a little bit more credit than or cryptozoology. I give it a little bit more credit than I do ghost hunting, only because there are reference materials when it comes to crypto. And a person could say I'm an expert in Bigfoot because they know the history, they know the Native American history, they've studied like the Himalayan history. They have gone back and actually tracked this as a historical record. So they know what the accounts say, they know what people's witness statements have said. So when you're looking for somebody to say, hey, so what does a Bigfoot sound like? Well, supposedly they can actually quote it to you. Supposedly it sounds like this, or I can give you this video that supposedly has recorded it. So yeah, I'll give them a little bit more leeway when you say expert, because they have studied because there's something to study. But Bigfoot on the whole, I'm kind of mixed. I do believe there's something because there's too many stories. There's too much going back historically all over the world.
Yeah, but see, here's my point. If somebody had found a rare metal, there would be people dumping tons of money in trying to find where that metal came from.
Well, we have that all the time, Deep. Like they just discovered not too long ago, they found out that one of Tutankhamun's daggers was made from a very rare metal from a meteorite.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we do find these things. It does happen. I was just going to say, I think a lot of this information, a lot of it gets suppressed. I really do think that.
That's what I was coming up. That's what I was coming to. Is this information getting depressed or or suppressed? Kind of watching some of these people on TV is depressing. I'm sorry. There are just some people who do not need to do documentaries. Okay?
I agree.
Today we're in the great Northwest Woods and we're looking for Bigfoot. We're take people off.
Ferris Bueller.
Oh, look, it's Bigfoot. It's dry humping a tree.
Yeah, that's like what's that one young guy on Ancient Aliens? I cannot listen to him for his hair.
Oh, that's Giorgio Salakis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He needs to learn how to use a comb.
He never combs his hair. He only does that for shows. You know that, right?
He needs a better vernacular, too.
I mean, he does that just for the TV and in the shows. He doesn't keep his hair that way.
Well, you see, I always feel like I'm hanging out on a New York street corner talking to, like, the busboy at a restaurant when he talks, because he's got that twang in his voice when he's talking. I'm like, oh, my God, I can't help it. I'll like, shake my head sometimes. It was like, I seriously feel like this is like a busboy in a New York City, like, deli, talking to me like, it's what do we think it is? What do we think it is? It's Bigfoot. Okay, thanks. Who chose this guy? Really? Production? Really?
What gets me about Giorgio is everything unexplained is alien. Okay.
That's production, dude. We both know that. Nobody is idiot enough to say that every time. That's production. They're pushing their brand when he does that.
I'm sorry, guys, but if you're one of the folks on not Ancient Aliens, on Paranormal Caught on Camera, can we start a new series, please? Okay, because you guys are really starting to sound a little ridiculous now for a paycheck.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, it's just, it seems to me like there would. I'm kind of the mind that it's being suppressed. Something's being suppressed.
Yep.
Because we've got tons of money being spent on archaeology.
Yep.
Which nobody can seem to come to a consensus on. Which, by the way, you were talking earlier, which made me wonder what got burned up in the Library of Alexandria.
Yep. Yep. What got stored in the Vatican vaults?
Yeah.
Dude, there's so many depositories around the world where things have been stored that they did not want us to have knowledge of.
Yeah, but here's another point. Do not blame someone for being Catholic because of the Vatican.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
That is what Nancy was saying earlier. There are a lot of good, honest Jewish people, Christian people, even I'll say this, even Muslims.
Yep.
They don't agree with the way Islam is being taught or publicly. The thing is, the higher ups, you can't judge my beliefs on what's his name, Ludlow Dollar or something.
Yep.
His congregation is raising money to buy him a private jet.
it's kind of, I always tell people, it's the Bible teaches judge not lest you be judged. And it's very interesting because you never ever hear anybody target or mention the Buddhists. And I'm like, you want to know why? Because the Buddhists, number one, are pagan. Number two, their beliefs overextend everybody's beliefs between morals and respect and the beautiful way they actually believe. In fact, the closest thing to it, as far as I can see, are the older Native American beliefs. But it's just it's got nothing to do with how you worship. It's got to do with a symmetry. Like you are melded in with everything. You have to learn to respect and balance it all. Because if you don't, it's going to fall apart from underneath you.
And as far as I know, the Buddhists, all the way up through their leadership, are not wealthy.
No. Nope, they don't believe in, they look at possessions, wealth, all of that as mortal constraints. It keeps their spirit from being able to evolve.
Look, and whether you believe in Judaism, whether you believe in Christianity, or whether you believe whatever, look how revered they are in their countries.
Yep. But that's kind of what I'm saying. You can't judge another person's belief system just because they don't call it the same way you do, just because they don't use the same names that you do, they don't follow the same books you do, does not mean that they are not truly beautiful people and truly the Creator's creation. It's not up to us to judge that. We were not put here to judge each other. And yet that is what we're pushed to do every single day in the name of politics.
Yep.
Every day.
This country was put on as a Judeo-Christian country because, and the reason why they picked a Christian, and I'm thinking more Protestant, but it's really Judeo-Christian, is because God doesn't let us off the hook. There are some religions where it's like, oh, okay, well, if you're do bad things, you're just going to reincarnate as a beetle and you're going to, you'll be able to make it up. But in the Judeo-Christian, you're not. I mean, you're not going to get off the hook. And that's why they wanted it on that. To be put on.
No, actually, if you look at it, though, the founding fathers were theocrats. They were not religious. They had religious beliefs, but they were not devoutly, they specifically said all faiths are welcome.
Well, they
because
were
they did correct because they were exactly, they did not want to counter. Why? Because 90% of the country.
Hello, Nance, lost you. You okay?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you. 90% of the country is where you left off.
Basically, they had fled their countries because of religious persecution. I mean, almost every great war out there to that point was due to a religious at odds. You had England, the Church of England, trying to burn all the Catholics. Then you had Elizabeth, who sat in power, who did not want to burn the Catholics, but she still wanted a united government. So she ostracized the Catholics, took their land. I mean, so now you've got literally hundreds of thousands of Catholics trying to run from England. You've got France and Spain who are literally burning Protestants and Jews. I mean, literally left and right because of the Inquisition. So you had to prove your Catholic faith in those countries. Then you have the Lutherans.
Inquisition.
Yeah, literally. The Inquisition, Torquemada. I mean, that's really sad that that's how I remember Torquemada's name. But we did it. Okay, organized religions did it to themselves. And they did it in the name of power, not in the name of God, but in the name of power.
But let's also remember, it was not the Christians or the Jews or the Protestants that initiated this. It was the people in power who used
Yes.
the religious sects as a ready-made army.
Yep.
Remember,
and a bank.
Remember,
You got to remember that. They bankrolled it. Religions bankrolled wars.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, but if you go back and look historically, the heads of the religions were very, very wealthy, powerful people.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Okay.
I think I told you I did a project about 15 years ago tracing the tracing the Roman families. So the senators' families, the great families of Rome.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to the great families of Rome when Rome fell? And you want to know what happened to them?
They went
They
to the
converted.
hills.
They became popes. No, they didn't go to the hills. They became popes and bishops of the new religion as it was founding and growing. So they didn't go anywhere. The Vatican was set up based off the families of Rome. And I've always said that. It wasn't, the empire didn't fall, it converted. There's a difference. It didn't go anywhere. It was the same people in charge. It's just they couldn't control the populace. The democracy was no longer working. They could not control the populace with the fear of death. Why? Because the new religion taught them that they would have an everlasting life as a martyr. So there was no longer a fear of dying. So now they had to learn how to control the population a new way. How do we do that? Oh, we'll take their immortal life. We'll become the religion.
Right.
So if you step out of line now, you're not just going to die horribly, but you're going to go to hell to boot. So it was a means of control.
Well, yes. Satan
look,
infiltrated.
But look at and look at the Vatican today. It's its own.
Yeah.
I'd rather not.
Its own country state.
Yep.
It has.
Are the Catholics appalled at all?
Oh my God, my parents are Catholic. I told you that. I come from I'm Italian.
Right,
I come from a Catholic family.
So am I.
My parents are. My mother went church jumping. Like, you know how people go doctor shopping? My mother went church shopping. Why? Because almost every church she was going to, especially during COVID when they were open, the priests had become so liberal. It was appalling to my mother. Like, she would go and they'd listen to the sermon and she'd come out of there shaking her head going, where are these people being educated? This is not the Catholic religion. What is this?
Mm-hmm.
And she finally found a church she loves, very close to her actually, where he's an older priest. She's actually known him from another parish for years. And he stays out of the politics, but he keeps to the tenets of the religion. And Vatican II style.
If he can do that.
Well, believe me, he gets in trouble. But thankfully, the area we're in is very conservative, and the Catholic religion has always been synonymous with conservatives. But I can tell you that, well, now it's become very liberal, actually. And obviously, because we have a pope that just basically agreed to baptize transvestites.
Can you believe that? Oh.
Mom goes, I can't even look. And then she says to me, she goes, you know what, honey? I'm like, what? She goes, you're right. This is the Black Pope. I said, oh, Mom, yeah, I told you that. I knew that just by the amount of pictures hanging in the Vatican. This has to be the Black, because there's no more places to put a picture. Said, by your own predictions, by your own prophecies, this is the Black Pope. I didn't need to see
the last one. Yeah.
Yep.
Malachi's prediction. Okay.
Sure is. I said, and the thing is that even when he jumped into our border crisis here in the United States, a pope has no business telling another country how to run their borders. They have never been allowed to interfere with our policies like that. No, I didn't notice him.
While we were part of the corporation, and they were the money.
Yep. No. It was under Trump. When Trump was in control, that's when the new pope started vocally. It became very obvious that he was not on board. Like, that shouldn't have been Trump. It should have been Clinton. It was very obvious that the Vatican had to side, and that their side. And like I said, there's always been rumors that a lot more happened under the Trump administration than we know. And that included a raid of the Vatican vault. And it
Emptying. They emptied it.
Then seeing a lot of stuff right now, you're going, oh, there's a war going on that none of us are seeing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. But
And
like
it's
I said,
hard because we know that, but
yep.
most of the country doesn't, and it feels weird.
People
Or
like
maybe
us, you forget, Vic. I mean, how long have we known that that Palestine and Israel were going to kick off? How long have we known that? A long time.
Long time.
We have known, 100% known this was coming. We knew it was going to be within a 5-year window.
Mm-hmm.
We knew. And when it happened, we were like, we knew COVID was coming. We knew all this stuff was coming. And like I said, to see it get knocked off, chinked off one by one, just like that their cover-up of COVID was going to come out. We knew there was no hiding that. Now we're just waiting for them to be not able to walk down the street, which is the next step.
But that's what we know, but I don't know to the extent that the normal people or everyone knows these things.
I think everybody is starting to sense. Like Dee knows. Dee's not part of that, but Dee knows that there's something seriously wrong.
Yeah.
Mark knows something seriously is wrong. This is better. We're in a better place now than we've ever been to, because I don't think you can go down the street and not talk to at least one person who doesn't realize something is seriously wrong.
That's like they've got people out there now trying to convince the people in this country that our economy is booming. It's wonderful. It's great. Dude, you're a liar. You're not even being funny. You're not even sad. You're an out and out liar.
Oh yeah, we're finding out that the banks are, their treasuries are leveraged into the negative tens of billions.
Yeah.
I mean, and these are our biggest banks.
I'm telling you,
Chase, this is Citi, this is the biggest Wells Fargo. I mean, BOA. The biggest banks we've got are in really deep doo-doo.
I'm telling you.
The thing is, if you have that, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you guys want to see a very real possibility, go to YouTube, go to Netflix, go somewhere and find the original Rollerball movie with James Caan.
Yep.
And watch it. It ain't governments running things. It's corporations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, so listen to this, guys. I just got a news alert. Listen to this, because we got to wrap it up soon. But I'm like, you're going to laugh when you hear this, but you're not. You're probably going to cry. The Capitol Police have announced that 6 of their officers were injured, with injuries ranging from minor cuts to being pepper sprayed or punched. One person has been arrested for assaulting an officer, along with other arrests for tonight's violent gathering. So apparently tonight there was a march again in D.C., and I'm looking at the video, and I mean, these people are lobbing Molotov cocktails. This is bonkers. It makes the January 6th event look like a manger, a nativity scene, for God's sakes. I mean, this is like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I'm going to see this on what they call alternative news, but I am not going to see this mainstream media. There's no way they'll play this on mainstream media.
And I don't understand why we need to get that out there, because that's what people see. Like what you said about the banks, I thought about saying to some friends, get out some cash just in case, because there's a problem with the banks. My husband asked at the class he teaches among all the policemen that gather from all over the world, the country, and they're saying, no, there's no problem with the banks. So how can we warn people?
You can't.
You can't. We can't do it.
You can lead a horse to water. You cannot sit on its neck and make it drink. You can't.
And I know they're saving MSM to do the declassification, to tell everybody. But it's just so frustrating when...
But again, not everybody's going to be able to, like I said, when I talk to
handle
people,
the truth. Yeah.
well, it's not just that. When I talk to people and I say, hey, make sure you have bottled water on hand. Make sure you keep it in your house a couple months worth. Make sure you got a lot of backup batteries. Do your hurricane kit. Just keep it updated and keep it updated for a couple months. Get as much cash out of it. Keep the cash on you. What does it hurt to have cash on you and not in the bank? Keep enough in there to cover your bills.
Right.
But I wouldn't keep my life savings in there right now. Because there are, and I told them, go look it up. Go Google people who are going to go into who try to go into their bank accounts and their whole bank account is gone.
Right.
Because the banks have randomly decided to shut their account down with no notice and no reason. Because if you read the fine print of any bank contract, it says they have the right to do that.
Mm-hmm. And I wanted to say that to friends, hey, why don't you, because they've come out with the banks, they're going down, this bank's going down, that bank's going down. And then, my husband said, well, I asked police and they're like, no, we're not having any trouble with any bank. What are you talking about? It's like, it's so frustrating.
It is. But again, those are the to me, I'd rather be safe than sorry. I've always worked off that methodology.
Mm-hmm.
I would to me, it doesn't hurt me to have cash on hand.
Right.
Never did. As long as my bills are covered, that's all I give a crap about. And if I lose that money, well, if that's how bad it got, then everybody else has lost their money too. So it's not like they're going to have any money to come pay somebody to knock on my door and yell at me for my bills.
Right.
It's a common sense thing.
Well, I have done it, and I've, told people that in the house, and then they turned around and have said, oh, well, it didn't happen. So, And
doesn't matter. It doesn't, you know what? How many times in Florida, I always tell people that, how many times have you prepared for a hurricane and nothing ever happened?
Right.
It happens every year, multiple times a year.
That's what I tell different people about getting on, some, say, signal or something. It's like, well, it's just in case it won't hurt you. And just in case to have, or just, that's what I say, just like you would any emergency.
Yep.
And
better yet, why should we only put our seatbelt on when we feel like we might get in a car crash that day?
Nancy.
Yeah, I know. We got to go. With that, guys, I would say everybody tell everything, but I've already gone over by minutes. So everybody have a great evening. Join us here again next week for the all-new Cafe Enigma. We promise we'll try to keep it interesting, light, and fun. Have a good evening. We'll see you next week.
Our revels now are ended. These our actors, as I foretold you, were all spirits and are melted into air, into thin air. And like the baseless fabric of this vision, the cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, the great globe itself, yea, all which inherit it shall dissolve, and like this insubstantial pageant faded, leave not a rack behind. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep.